Good morning, Mr. Phiri, and welcome
morning.
to Diamond Breakfast.
Thank you so very much, and good morning, viewers.
Right. So tell me, with what's been happening now with the spikes of political violence,
Yes.
do you think that the political party regalia, they should just stop wearing it? Should just be banned in Parliament?
Well, first and foremost, you must understand that party regalia is a form of identity. And therefore, I don't think it defines what causes the political violence. And then first, maybe I should start by stating that what we're experiencing in Zambia is electoral violence. And electoral violence only happens when we have an election or during elections. But then once elections are over, the political parties or the cadres, they go back to respective places and they coexist. And then political violence is where there is turmoil, there's a lot of confusion. In most cases, will chase away even donors or investors. So what we have is electoral violence. And it comes up just when we have these by-elections. So the regalia itself is not really the cause. It is a mindset. There's a need for a paradigm shift where we begin to say to ourselves, this is a contestation of ideas. It is not about how is it possible for me to match at you, or But the idea should be that can I outdo you by just discussion? Can I beat you in the debate, as opposed to being physical? So the political parties have failed to basically sensitize and inform their members on what it takes to participate in an election.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is stemming from the UNIP days when there was the Cha-Cha-Cha movement? Do you think it's deeply rooted in that, and people are confusing that when it comes to the national interest of people during during an election?
Well, I would not say it's stemming from the UNIP days. I think that it hasn't become worse now, with people wanting to ascend to power. And therefore, what's causing all this is desperation, both opposition and the ruling party. And the ideals of any political party is to embrace excellency. And that excellency must be upheld and appreciated. But the moment you fail to appreciate excellency, you begin to compromise your values with mediocrity. So what you are seeing is this political thuggeries because people are into it not because they are loyal to the country, but it's their interests. What will I benefit from it first? So this is where we have where these problems are stemming from.
So you feel that this is a power struggle to ascend to power by
Absolutely.
any means
necessary. Yes,
and
it is what it is.
So how best do you think that this could be put to an end? Because we have seen statements by political leaders, both in ruling and opposition, to say, us will not allow violence in our party.
Yes.
But you see regalia being torn apart. You see someone with a stand with their ideals saying, I belong to this party, and their market stance gets broken down. How could this be brought to an end?
Well, first and foremost, I think that there is need for inter-party dialogue. We need to have the participants into this whole game to be able to sit together and agree on how they want to move forward, especially now as we prepare for 2021. What I see is that 2021 will be a mother of all elections. But the only way we'll get to a consensus is if we draw the roadmap together. Therefore, meaning that the content is only protected by the process. So the process is, where do we begin from? And how do we get to 2021? And once that is done and these disagreements or conflicts are resolved, then we can then move forward. But beyond that also, there's a bearing on ECZ, the Electoral Commission of Zambia. The ECZ has got the mandate to stop or nullify an election, to suspend or expel a party from participating in the election. These vices that we are seeing, I think it is time that ECZ became serious in the issues of electioneering, because elections have brought conflict in a lot of countries. Zambia is not unique.
Yes, it's not.
It's not unique. And I think that it is time that they began looking at conflict management and how best they can sensitize the people who want to participate in 2021. Yeah.
You can call the number on the screen. We are speaking to the People Initiative Charter Chairperson, Mr. Cleophas Phiri, on political violence. Should the political party regalia be banned? That maybe this is also a catalyst to political violence. And also we're just discussing how does all this electoral violence or political violence, electoral violence come to an end. So you can call the number on the screen and put through your questions. Now, Mr. Phiri, some of the objectives of your the charter is that for people to have political literacy.
Correct.
And are you being able to achieve this objective? And also, you want people's participation and empowerment.
Yes.
How is it going for you to achieve this objective?
Well, first and foremost, I think that that is where we've realized that these are the causes of people being ignorant. And because there isn't enough education in why do we participate in elections? Why should I go and vote? Why should I be a comrade to a fellow cadre? And it would appear that we've looked at this competition as it is do or die. And therefore, what we try to do as PIC is to ensure that we sensitize the players on the electoral code of conduct and how to conduct ourselves during, before and after elections. And beyond that, to foster the idea of ensuring that the new voters, the first-time voters, the so-called millennials, come out in mass and participate, because this is their country and the future is in their hands. So
how are you approaching the millennials during the COVID-19 pandemic? How are you being able to reach out to rural areas to make a Zambian citizen understand the reason they need to vote, the reason why this next person is to your comrade, and this is not a do or die?
Well, it's been a very difficult exercise, because as you know, with this COVID situation, it's been very difficult for us to have one-to-one meetings. But as you know, we have over 1 million people in the rural areas who are online. We have over 4 or 4.5 million millennials along the line of rail. So basically, we've tended to use social media to get to them, to exchange ideas, to give them updates on what is transpiring. Because even now, a lot of young people do not seem to realize that it is time to go and get their NRCs. It is time for them to begin to register. And if there are any problems, so we've been getting feedback from the communities, and we write to the relevant authorities so they can help us, and then we get back to the people.
All right, so we're speaking to Mr. Cleophas Phiri, People Initiative Charter's chairperson, and we're discussing electoral violence. Should party regalia be banned? Do you even understand why you, as a Zambian citizen, need to be voting? So we're discussing this, and how do we have this electoral violence coming to an end? Please throw in your questions and contributions. You can call the number on the screen. We have been seeing recently in the media party regalias being torn apart. We have been seeing electoral violence happening in Nyama, Lukasha, as well as Masawombo. We want to hear your questions and contributions. Mr. Phiri, you have said that along the line of rail, there's about 4.5 million millennials that have the potential to vote in the general elections for 2021.
Yes.
So do you think that they will come out despite the electoral violence?
Well,
I think do we have a call on the line? Hello? All right.
Yes.
Yeah. So, hello. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, madam.
Yes. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah. This is Fairs from Mazabuka, Negenaga.
All right. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think concerning the topic there, regalia is the contribution to the political violence. I think that must not be true.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, Yeah, concerning the Legalia,
All
the
right.
topic it's not true, because the fact is that I think it's the type of leaders that we have now in these political parties. If you can look at some certain statements that these political parties have been making in these campaign places, the rallies they have been making, it shows that our leaders as well are the major causes. Because if these leaders can come up together, they come up with a roadmap, they discuss how these campaigns should be conducted, I think that can make these cadres know what exactly they need to do. So I think what we need to work on is the issue to do with the political party leaders. They need to do something, because the fact that the regalia has got nothing to do with the violence that is taking place. I think it's something that has to do with the mind. Talking of the violence that has been happening in Mansabombwe and these other things, we have been watching on these social medias. We find that it's just our leaders. So the leaders has a lot to play when it comes to the violence that is taking place through the political cadres.
Right.
So I think we have to work much on the political parties' leaders. The ACZ should work on that so that things can be put in place. Remember that we are going the 2021 election. We don't need much of the violence. We need peace. Zambia is a Christian country, it's a Christian nation, whereby everything should be in place according to the peace that we have enjoyed for over 50 years plus. So things have to be done. The political party leaders should sit and make sure that things are put in place. There is peace in our country. The Electoral Commission has done everything fairly. Everything is put in place according to the rules of this nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your contribution. So, your take on the caller.
Well, basically, he's alluding to what I said in my preamble, that there's need to bring all the political actors together. Political actors, civil society, the church, non-state actors, to agree on a roadmap, as well as we approach these 2021 elections. Because without drawing up a roadmap, the do's and the don'ts, the whole process becomes a conflict, a source of conflict. So for us to be able to accept and embrace the outcome of the 2021 elections, there must be credibility in the entire process. And the credibility of the process is derived from consensus. Yes.
And I know earlier before we took the call, I was asking that the 4.5 million millennials that are along the line of rail, not even considering the other voters, that the statistics that we don't have, do you think these will turn out in numbers in 2021? Because in the last general election that we had, the margin of the ruling party winning was just 100,000. I believe the Patriotic Front had about 1.9 million, I think.
Yes. The size of a football field.
Yes, and then I think UPND had about maybe 1.8, somewhere there. So if we have an extra 4.5 million voters, I think that would really be a game changer.
You're very right. In fact, ECZ is targeting 9 million voters. But then this is what baffles me about politicians. This violence that is being perpetrated, I'm extremely baffled. Because they are tolerating it. It takes away votes from them because it's a bad ingredient for democracy. Say the first-time millennials would be scared to go to a booth because they're experiencing violence. Therefore, it's taking away from either the opposition or the ruling party. That is why I'm saying that it is incumbent upon themselves to agree on a roadmap that will sustain, the whole process.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And lastly, what are your words to the Zambian voter, the electorate out there, and the party leaders out there?
Well, firstly, to be to the millennials, that Zambia is their heritage. They have got no other country, and that it is imperative that they go and get their NRS.